There was once a village divided by a wide river. On one side stood the market, the school, and most of the homes. On the other side were the orchards, the grazing fields, and the forest where the villagers gathered berries, mushrooms, and firewood. For many years, the villagers crossed the river in small boats. The boats were slow, but everyone was accustomed to them. The baker crossed early in the morning to gather wild berries for his pastries. The farmer crossed with his goats. The carpenter crossed to find strong pieces of timber. The children crossed whenever they could persuade an adult to take them. No one liked the boats very much, but no one organized a better solution. Then, one summer morning, the baker stepped into the shallow part of the river and placed a large stone beneath the surface. He was tired of removing his shoes every time he crossed. The next morning, he added another stone. By the end of the week, he had made a small path toward the patch of berries on the opposite bank. The baker was pleased. "This is much better," he said. A few days later, the farmer came to the river with his goats. He saw the baker's stones and thought they might help him cross, but the spaces between them were too wide for the smaller goats. So the farmer dragged 2 wooden boards from his barn and laid them across the gaps. "There," he said, "now the goats can cross." The baker was surprised when he returned. He had never asked for boards, but they did make the crossing easier. Soon afterward, the carpenter came to the river. He saw the stones and the boards and immediately noticed that the entire structure lacked a railing. The carpenter disliked looking at unfinished things. Without speaking to the baker or the farmer, he drove wooden posts into the riverbank and attached a railing along one side. When the children discovered the crossing, they decided it was a bridge. They spent an afternoon carrying smaller stones to fill the spaces between the larger ones. Some of the stones helped. Others were placed simply because the children enjoyed the splash they made when they hit the water. Later, the blacksmith noticed that one of the boards was loose. He hammered a metal plate across it. The innkeeper placed a lantern near the entrance so travelers could see the crossing at night. The gardener planted flowers beside it, and an artist painted a sign that read, "The Village Bridge." By the end of the summer, the village had something that looked remarkably like a bridge. The mayor was delighted. He called everyone into the town square. "My friends," he announced, "this bridge demonstrates the extraordinary power of cooperation." The villagers applauded. The baker smiled because his berries were easier to reach. The farmer smiled because his goats could cross. The carpenter admired his railing. The artist admired the sign. The mayor arranged for a celebration. There was music, food, and a ribbon stretched across the entrance to the bridge. Standing before the crowd, the mayor raised a pair of silver scissors. "This bridge proves," he said, "that when everyone contributes, great things become possible." He cut the ribbon. Everyone cheered. For several weeks, the bridge worked surprisingly well. The villagers crossed it to gather fruit, tend animals, and visit the forest. They congratulated themselves on what they had built together. Then autumn arrived. Rain fell in the hills for 7 days. The river began to rise. On the first morning, the children noticed that the smaller stones were washing away. By afternoon, the farmer's boards had begun to shift. The blacksmith's metal plate held one board in place, but because the board could no longer move with the current, it pulled against the stones beneath it. The carpenter's railing leaned outward. The lantern fell into the water. That evening, the mayor ordered everyone to stay away from the bridge. The next morning, the villagers gathered along the riverbank. They watched as the railing twisted, the boards separated, and the largest stones rolled beneath the surface. The sign reading, "The Village Bridge," floated downstream. Within minutes, the entire bridge was gone. The mayor stood in the mud, staring at the wreckage. Then he turned toward the villagers. "Who built it incorrectly?" The baker pointed at the farmer. "I only placed the stones," he said. "The boards made everything unstable." The farmer pointed at the carpenter. "My boards were fine until he attached that heavy railing." The carpenter looked offended. "A bridge needs a railing. The problem was clearly the foundation." The blacksmith defended his metal plate. The gardener blamed the children's stones. The children blamed the rain. Soon, everyone was shouting. Finally, the oldest child raised her hand. She was a quiet girl named Elia, who had watched the bridge grow all summer. "I do not think anyone built the bridge incorrectly," she said. The villagers became silent. The mayor looked at her. "Then why did it collapse?" Elia glanced across the river. "Because no one was building the same bridge." The baker frowned. "We were all working on it." "You were all working near it," Elia replied. She pointed toward the baker. "You were building a path to the berries." Then she pointed toward the farmer. "You were building a crossing for the goats." She turned toward the carpenter. "You were finishing something that looked unfinished." She looked at the blacksmith, the gardener, and the artist. Each person added something for a different reason. We all created one result, but we never shared one design. The mayor looked toward the empty river. "But it became a bridge." "It looked like one," Elia said. "That is not the same thing." The villagers did not rebuild immediately. Instead, they met in the town hall. At first, the meeting was uncomfortable. The baker wanted the bridge near the berries. The farmer wanted it farther upstream, where the goats entered the field. The merchants wanted it near the road. The parents wanted it where the water was shallowest. The carpenter wanted stone supports. The blacksmith wanted iron fastenings. Some villagers did not believe they needed a bridge at all. For the first time, the village had to ask a question it had avoided during the entire summer. What are we actually trying to build? They studied the river. They measured its depth. They examined the marks left by previous floods. They agreed that the bridge should allow people, animals, and carts to cross safely throughout the year. They chose a location together. They drew a plan. The mason designed the foundation. The carpenter designed the wooden structure. The blacksmith created joints that could withstand movement. The farmer helped shape a gradual entrance for animals. The baker supplied food to the workers. The children carried tools and painted a new sign. This time, every task was different, but every task belonged to the same intention. The bridge took nearly a year to complete. When it was finished, it was not as charming as the first bridge. The stones were not scattered playfully through the water. The boards did not twist around the riverbank. The flowers had not yet grown. But beneath the surface stood deep foundations that every builder understood. The following autumn, the rains returned. The river rose higher than it had the year before. The villagers gathered anxiously along the bank. Branches struck the supports. Water rushed against the stone. The bridge trembled. But it remained. Elia stood beside the mayor as the flood passed beneath them. The mayor looked at the bridge and then at the people who had built it. "I think I understand now," he said. "A shared result is not always shared creation." Elia nodded. People can accidentally build the same thing while living inside entirely different visions. And cooperation begins when they agree on the bridge. "Not only the bridge," she said, "they have to agree on what the bridge is for." The mayor looked across the river, where farmers, merchants, children, and travelers were already beginning to cross. The first bridge had been made from many contributions. The second bridge had been made from many people. That was the difference. Shared results can happen by accident. Shared creation begins when separate minds see the same possibility and willingly bring their different powers into it.